Hello, welcome to Cinema Sitdown. I am your host, Jordan Burke, and tonight I am joined with two lovely people. So before we start, let's introduce ourselves. Let's start up here.
Hi, I'm Brendan Barnes, and I'm here to talk about a great movie.
Hello, I am the lovely Brandon Harrison. Welcome back to me.
So tonight we watched Captain Fantastic, and it's a film about a father and his family. He took them kind of out of society and raised them on their own, and then with the passing of his wife and their mother, they're kind of forced back into society for their funeral. And I chose this movie because I feel like there's a lot of questions about life that could be thought about or that could possibly be answered. And I feel like the biggest question of this movie is who was right? Was the dad right? Was her parents right? The grandparents? Was the aunt and uncle right? Or were the kids even right? So who do you think was right?
I think, so I don't think any of them are right.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it takes every aspect of what they were teaching, the father and the grandparents. I think it takes every aspect to understand the world, because ultimately understanding who you are and what you want out of life is great, but understanding how to use that information within the system that's already there is better. Like, in being able to help other people within the system, I think is ultimately the goal. And also being happy, which I feel like is kind of neglected throughout the film as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What about you, Brandon? Who do you think was right?
I think that to say that any one person in this movie was right is kind of like lowballing it. I feel like everybody had their points of views and they all saw it in their own point of view. So they all kind of were right, but like not like entirely, you know? Like the dad, he was clearly teaching them like how to survive, like in a way that if you were in the wilderness, you could survive kind of thing. But they also had knowledge of like actual events and actual laws. Like the 8-year-old school, the middle and high school are like, they didn't even know the Bill of Rights.
Can you tell me what the Bill of Rights is?
What something costs, I guess.
The Bill of Rights.
Amendment 1. Congress should make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of...
At the same time, the grandparents were like, you have to like not do that kind of stuff. And then the aunt, uncle were talking about you have to get them in school because they have to be a normal kid, because Bo was the oldest son. He proposed.
Yeah.
He was ready off his first piece. He was ready. So I mean, like, and he didn't even get his first piece. He was just a kid. He was ready to lock down forever. So I mean, like, they have to be exposed to different kind of like perspectives to understand, like, get a world around it. They were more survivalists than regular kids. So I mean, they all had their reasons and methods, but they all were kind of right about what they were saying.
And that's what I love about this film, is that they don't say, well, our way of living is right or your way of living is right. They go, things that you do are good and that it helps your kids, but things that you do are also hurting your kids. Like the fact that he said,
unless it comes out of a fucking book, I don't know anything about anything.
He probably read in a book somewhere and was taught that you meet a girl, you get married, you have kids. But he wasn't taught you meet someone, you date for a while, see if you even like them, and then it works on from there. So it's very interesting to me of how they view certain things. And another thing that I wanted to talk about was kind of like their view of their mom's mental health. Is that a lot of people were going...
The doctors put her in the hospital. They gave her medicine, but she was really sick.
Yeah.
And she died.
She killed herself. That's what happened.
Or that.
What do you guys think about that, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, no problem at all. I actually am 100% for being open and honest when it comes to mental instability and mental sickness, because ultimately it is a fight. Dealing with bipolar disorder, dealing with depression, dealing with so many other mental illnesses out there that make it difficult to even get out of bed in the morning. Like they discussed within the film, some days she was bright as sunshine, and other days she couldn't even make it out of bed. It makes you. I like that the film draws attention to the fact that sometimes you need to be open and honest. Sometimes you need to say what other people don't want to hear, because if people aren't educated or they don't understand what's going on, they can't understand how to help them. And ultimately, if they don't try to help them, then sometimes the person suffering can't help themselves. They're going to be stuck there on their own.
Yeah.
And it feels empty and dark.
Do you have anything to add, Brandon?
Well, yes. I'm gonna kind of draw parallels from the movie to like my own personal life here. So it's kind of like I might go on a little tangent. So stop me if I go too crazy here. But I worked with children like for about 5-6 years in my life, and the thing that most people don't understand about like kids is that they're way smarter than people ever give them credit for. So when like the aunt and uncle were like discussing, like you're talking about stuff that they probably won't understand, I feel like they all understood what was really going on.
Yeah.
Like they knew what was going on.
Yeah.
And like kids, they might not like completely like get it like how adults would understand it, but they can come to their conclusions how they come to their conclusions, and they'll get it when they see what's going on, kind of thing. And for them to try to just say that they're not going to understand what you're talking about, you try to like, let's not tell them the hard truth about things because they're kids, they won't understand it. It's kind of like, it's a different type of sheltering that's like not really good for kids, but it makes sense for like, if you want to, you have to be like a consistent thing you have to do. And if you already are open with your kids, you can't kind of like sugarcoat anything. So just being open with them, telling them the truth, and them knowing the truth about how their mom was really going through that kind of stuff. It's just like conversations that you gotta have. It's hard conversations you gotta have with kids sometimes, and then after a while, it just kind of comes to a thing that you kind of just understand, and it just makes sense to him. So like, he had a relationship with his kids that made sense for them to go through like that kind of conversations like that. So I would have been a wreck though. Get that morning meeting. Hey, your mom committed suicide. I'm just like, oh,
Yeah.
fuck out of here. No, I would have been a mess.
Well, so speaking on that, do you think that, because he kind of just said, they knew their mom, but some of them were like, I have memories of her. And then probably the oldest son was most likely like, yeah, I know her because she was my mom. But the youngest ones didn't really fully remember her. And when they found out that their mom died, he basically just said, your mom killed herself. Do you guys think that they handled her death well and they had the proper time to mourn and grieve about her?
I would say that they probably grieved in a way that they understood, being less socially like strong or socially connected to what the world sees as like correct or right. They probably went through their own process of grieving. I mean, initially starting with the crying, because that entire scene, they were all bawling and they were all tearing up. And I mean, that sudden shock of loss it's difficult for any one person to deal with. Like, it's difficult for any person to deal with loss in general, but when you know who they are, but you haven't got to connect with them on a level that you wanted, it could definitely affect your memories and your thoughts of who they are. So to try to understand if the way they grieved is correct, that would have us try to bisect who they are as individuals being raised in a woodland setting separate from society.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we don't ever delve that deep into that, into their kind of social interactions. So
kind of piggybacking onto that, In the movie, the youngest kid comes out and he says something, and one of the daughters goes, "You're just repeating what Dad said." So it kind of makes you think of when he said, "Your mom is gone," the oldest one started crying. And it kind of makes me think of, did the youngest ones just kind of go, "Oh, well, you're crying, so we must be upset?" Or were they actually feeling that kind of pain that their mother was now gone?
Olita? I didn't sign that book.
I'm skipping ahead.
It made me think about the scene where she did that book report about the old man with the relationship with the young girl. And it was like, she said that you're getting it from his perspective. And what you see from his perspective is that his love is so genuine and so pure, but it's still disgusting because the fact that he's pretty much, a predator,
Yeah.
So throughout this whole movie, you're getting it from the dad's perspective about how much he loves his kid, loves his wife, but you're not seeing the fact that he was the one who ultimately led his wife to suicide with the way that decisions were made in their relationship. So it was kind of like they were talking about their own movie while talking about this book that was not even really,
There was a lot of parallels.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Interesting!
A legal word!
Dad, can you say interesting?
Interesting is a non-word. You know you're supposed to avoid it. Be specific.
He said, "What do you think about the book?" And she said, "It's interesting." And they're like, "That's an illegal word. You can't say interesting." And he wanted her to describe her feelings about it and to give her opinion about what she thought of it. And I loved throughout the entire movie, throughout most of the movie, there are a couple times where he's like, "You can't do that. Don't do that." But throughout a majority of the movie, he let his kids have full control of their opinion. And he let them kind of think whatever they wanted. He let them kind of do whatever they wanted. And as a young age, their imaginations were through the roof.
Yeah.
They were insane.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of times, especially today, that adults and maybe parents will kind of tell their kids, "No, you can't do that," just because they don't want to deal with it. Whether it's like making something or making noise. They're like, "No, don't do that because I don't want to deal with it." Do you guys think that kids should be allowed to kind of have full control over their imaginations?
I believe so. I believe that's like the best way for them to come into their own, like, as they grow up. Because I've seen many parents, I've seen many teachers, supervisors, principals, whatever, avoid those big what questions, like the ones the kid was asking, like what is cocaine and all like that, like all that stuff like that. Like some people try to avoid that kind of topic because like, why do you want to know? Like, that's not something you need to worry about. But like, he was so open and honest with his kids, like allowing them to gain information so they can like form their own like opinions and use their imaginations on whatever they wanted to like kind of go off and learn and whatever. So I felt like that's very important just for like not creating those cookie cutter kids that don't know anything about anything kind of thing,
Yeah.
She's got a smile that it seems to me reminds me of childhood memories where everything.
What do you think of the Sweet Child of Mine?
I
was-
absolutely, go ahead.
I'll let you go first.
I absolutely love that at the funeral that her parents created, they were saying, "Oh, her favorite music is classical music. Her favorite song is by Bach." But they knew her favorite artist was Guns N' Roses. Her favorite song was Sweet Child of Mine, one of like the greatest rock songs of all time. And I absolutely love that about it.
Great song. They sang it perfectly. Harmonic solos, 10 out of 10.
So with like the whole funeral thing, the first shot we see is just this big wide shot. Everyone's sad, everyone's wearing black and dark colors because that's what you do at a funeral. And then like halfway through, these doors fly open and they're all in colors and they're all, I don't want to say happy, but they're not upset. So do you guys, like, did it kind of like shift your view of life and of kind of like of a funeral sort of? Like, do you guys, when you die, do you want people to be upset or do you want people to celebrate your life?
Celebrate. 100%. Burn me, like scatter me wherever you want. I don't want to be rotting in the ground. I would rather be like, I believe like being scattered amongst like the wind and my spirit will travel. It'll be fun. It'll be great. I'll see more of the world this way than I'll ever do when I'm alive, just to, social constraints. But I don't know, like I've thought about that. Like I never liked the idea of being confined into a box like that. So, and I always felt more pity than sadness at funerals for people like that. But ultimately, it's their choice. As long as they were following their wishes, I won't disagree with them.
Yeah.
What about you, Brandon? You look like you haven't thought about that.
I have thoughts about a lot of things, believe it or not. But when it comes to like the funeral, I want people to feel the sadness that I have moved on, but I want them to celebrate the fact that I was here and that they have felt enough emotion about my presence to where it brings them to tears, but it also allows them to celebrate the fact that I meant something to them, kind of thing. And the fact that the people were all wearing black and then they're all sad and stuff that's like funeral 101 kind of stuff. But the fact that her, I guess, direct family is just, they came out with all the color and the energy. That's the energy that I would want at my funeral for everybody to have. I don't want people to be sitting there like heads in their hands, crying sad the whole time. I want them to be filled with life that I seem to no longer have if it's my funeral. You know, like I just, it's a celebration of life for a reason. I wouldn't go to a party wearing all black unless I'm trying to be like, you know, best drip at the party kind of thing. But that's not what my funeral's gonna be about.
Yeah.
Like, come with the energy. It's what it's all about. So.
Yeah.
They didn't like the energy. That's why I kicked them out. That's real. They wasn't pushing P, bro.
Yeah. At my funeral, I personally want like just a party, and then I want to be cremated and put into a firework and shot off.
Oh, that's
like
cool.
That's just.
That'd be dope.
That's what I want. I feel like that'd be so cool. Yeah. So before we go, just a quick, what are your final thoughts about it?
Final thoughts. This movie kind of like hits me right where I like being hit. It's the movie that I really enjoy. It's a type of movie that I really enjoy. It's a good mix of laughter and crying. Like, it feels real while still being as real as you can get with a movie.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I enjoyed it, and I'm gonna say it just because no one else is gonna say it. Captain Fantastic was fantastic.
Oh man.
Yeah, I had to do it.
Yeah.
Like, it's been sitting there for the entire time. No one's gonna say it. I'll say it.
Whoever edits this video, I want you to put that quote, Captain Fantastic and Fantastic, and that thumbs up. I want you to freeze frame it. I want you to quote it. I want you to make a meme out of it. Anyway,
what are your final thoughts?
My final thoughts. I think that I feel like, although the matter of the theme and all stuff like that, it's all like really realistic, and it kind of hits a lot of people in a lot of different spots. I feel like this is the type of movie that more people should like be willing to make that hits on those tough subjects, but still knows how to like make a joke in between, or like make things kind of like, you know. I feel like it was like an authentic fictional movie, I guess. And I'm gonna pitch this now. I need a sequel when Bo's out of college, and I want to see how the family has grown since then. So a good 4-year time skip in Captain Fantastic 2.
Yeah. Well, that is all the time we have for today. So thank you guys so much for joining me. And this was Captain Fantastic, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Captain Fantastic was
fantastic.
fantastic.